Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Jeep Journals, where today is show and tell. Today I'm showing you a guitar that you have not seen before. This is the Dean Mako Valor, formerly the Dean Mako Glory. So this is now called the Valor. And there are a few key differences. The first difference being that this is no longer an instrument that is represented by Dave Mustaine of the band Megadeth. If you've watched my former clips, you know that this is the third iteration of this guitar that I've received. This time, thankfully, it arrived in perfect condition, and it was basically an adventure going through these three guitars to get the one that was the right one. And the other two guitars are still for sale. I was trying to think of the name of the business that sold me this guitar. I believe it's called Hilton Music, Hilton Instruments, Hilton, something along those lines. And I do remember the name of the person who helped me. Her name is Lorraine, and she talked with me about this guitar, which they finally received a couple of. This guitar was on back order for their business, and they received two guitars. One was called the Dean Mako Glory, and it was still a Dave Mustaine guitar. And then there was this one, which did not have the truss rod cover that the actual Dave Mustaine Dean Glory has. This one had a plain truss rod cover, which was great for me because I had intended to switch it out from the beginning, which is possibly why the first two were damaged. Because as I've indicated, anytime we do something that goes against, I guess, nature or our nature, sometimes things will result that are kind of like a karmic payback. So to remove Dave Mustaine's name from the instrument that he basically had made was almost like a slap in the face, especially with this guitar that has the flag, you know, the glory on display. The ironic part is that this particular flag that's on display on this guitar, if you really look closely, you'll see the flag is torn up and tattered, and behind it you'll see a lot of machinery. And that symbolism is trying to show us that the world as we know it, including the flag, the very notion of a nation, is possibly being run by machinery in the backdrop while the flag crumbles in front of us. And that's the story of a lot of the things that are going on globally. If you haven't paid attention much to some of the things that are going on in the climate, in our ecosystems, if you haven't been out in your own backyard recently, then you may not have noticed that there are things that are different. For an example, today is the day after Earth Day, and I believe that means it is April 22nd as this military jet flies by. And on this day of April the 22nd, if that's the accurate date, that's great. On this particular day, while there are so many things flying overhead of the military construct and so many details behind the flag going on of the military construct, I've noticed that I've only seen two mosquitoes in my yard so far. Both of them met an untimely end because they were biting me, and that caused me to swipe whatever direction is not tolerable for that particular animal. So I'm saying that with a kind of a silly grin. I don't mean to say that I killed an animal, and at the same time, I was tending to my own proximity, and something was biting me and it was leeching off of me, and I inadvertently destroyed it, which might have resulted in a further destruction of the ecosystem in that I took away a food source, a possible reproducing food source of our bats, which I haven't seen that many of this season, not to say that they're not here flying through these areas at night. It's just that without all of the abundance of insects, particularly the mosquitoes and former creatures of the night that we would typically see and feel, without these things going on, it's possible that there are less flybys by the eco-military, like the bats, to take out the mosquitoes. So just some thoughts. Anyway, with all of this talk about energy and how it resonates back and forth, I'm actually still quite impressed at the fact that I'm able to present these videos without them getting banned, without them getting blocked, and also, more surprisingly, without them getting shared. If you're sharing these videos, thank you so much. If you're commenting on these videos, thank you so much. All of the engagement that occurs on this level with these channels is something that resonates with not just, for an example, me being able to see that someone watched a video, but with someone else who finally has the opportunity to see this type of interesting content where we're talking about health being wealth. And we're really talking about wealth building. And in order to build our own wealth, sometimes we need to invest more heavily in those things that are sustaining us. In this particular case, I bought 3 guitars in the singular effort to try and get one that wasn't destroyed. And that caused 3 different individuals to send these items to me from 3 different locations on 3 different shipping systems. And in 2 cases, the first 2 cases, since the guitar was received damaged, I had to take it to get fixed. So, in some instances, as I myself go against the grain of, well, nature, I'm noticing that I'm not nurtured in that same way that I'm not nurturing nature. So with a lot of these items came some gigantic boxes and bulky shipping materials that I hope to invest in repurposing by selling the first 2 repaired guitars, for an example, on Reverb. Please check out the link in the description where you can find more about this situation where I'm basically selling 2 repaired guitars, and I'm giving you the opportunity to buy the guitar and have it donated to someone else if you don't really want a formerly, I guess, restored guitar. If you don't want that item and you would like it to go to somebody who will use it to learn to play and who might ding it up anyways because they're just starting to play guitar, then feel free to consider the options listed, found in the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much for participating. If you understand that I'm trying to raise awareness towards nature primarily and how health is wealth and how we talk these things into a singular topic, which is that being grateful causes us to take better care of ourselves and of others. How I talk about being at ease actually being the opposite of being at dis-ease, and how I talk about the 7-day vegan challenge that this cat up the road talked about over and over until I actually tried it myself. And if you realize that this channel is talking about all these things, and if you understand that this isn't just someone trying to gain publicity for their own individual benefit, you'll understand that I've had a terrifically difficult, challenging time getting any of this content to be seen at all. And the reason it should be seen is because in the past I invested heavily in showcasing nature. Nature is nurture. So for all the people who are taking in those videos and who have taken those opportunities to travel with me, or even virtually travel with me, that's nurture. And I've nurtured bits of you that you really didn't even know needed nurturing. So for me, monetarily, I've oftentimes had to pay 3 times for the one item that I intended to receive to begin with. Now, there were a lot of opportunities where the wealth was shared in such a way that allowed me to repair the damaged goods that come my way. And at the same time, those opportunities take time as well. So not only did I receive a little bit of money for the time that it took to restore these circumstances, but it took a lot of time, which was almost like I'm barely breaking even in many cases. So in this particular economy where coronavirus has caused us to sort of short circuit some of the thought process, and just to give you one example of a short-circuited thought process, let's take, for an example, the whole discussion about designer handbags and how some people are cutting them up and discarding them because they no longer want to support this industry of designer handbags for whatever reason. Well, let's think about this. Imagine that you took those designer handbags to someone who never could have afforded them to begin with. What would they feel like if they received a gift that was repurposed, and instead of being destroyed, it was given a new life? So with all of these thoughts in mind, I think about even the mosquitoes that I errantly swiped to the non-inclusive direction, and I think about the fact that some of our natural responses are driven not based on pain, but they're just driven based on fear or emotion that might manifest from fear itself. For me, I have 3 guitars of this style. This is my favorite one. I've even branded it with my own self-prescribed, self-described logo, US385, which is the highway that leads to Big Bend National Park. And pretty much across North America, it's a pretty far-reaching road. It's a road that basically ends at the Big Bend National Park, which is my favorite place on earth. It's tied with my other favorite place on earth, which is a place that I've only been to once in my entire life. The Big Bend National Park is an ecosystem where just 2 summers ago or less, I saw bats in the Rio Grande Village area flying around at 3:30 in the afternoon when it was just over 90 degrees. And these bats were hunting dragonflies. Now, if you don't understand that bats normally are nocturnal and that they have plenty of food and that when they're hunting during the day this is unusual, then you might not understand if you've hiked with me, for an example, and seen opossums and also armadillos out during the day foraging, looking for food during the day. And many of these creatures, which were formerly mostly nocturnal, are starting to rummage for food at all hours because they're running out of content. Now, you yourself might be running out of content on this particular channel without even noticing it because you've never shared this type of content or subscribed to it. So I challenge you to subscribe to this channel and to share a video just to see what happens. Just to see what kind of gene pool therapy happens among these platforms. In order to grow something, something needs to be seeing the light. And thankfully, I see the light just fine. And so I'm able to continue to produce my content, whether or not it's going to be here indefinitely, which it won't. But the fact is, I'm able to succeed and flourish and hone my craft, which is basically to tend to that which is around me. With all of this in mind, remember, I need to tend to myself first before I can tend to anything else. And usually if I'm tending to too many things and I'm going against the order of what is right, then there will be obstacles. And those obstacles sometimes come from removing, even the very thought of removing someone's name from the headstock of a guitar. So, I've got strange law of attraction type theories that aren't just law of attraction, they're talking about spiritual references, spiritual revelations, spiritual insights, where if you just look just beyond what you see visibly, if you look at what you hear in your heart, and if you look at the results of what's happening, then you might recognize whether you're also following the correct or incorrect path. For me, I've followed both paths for quite some time, and I would have to say that in many cases I've followed the incorrect path. I never really had made a concrete decision. So I'm going to play a song right now on this Dean Mako Valor, which is called I Met with the Devil. And what the song talks about is being offered an opportunity to take basically from the marketplace over and over and over, without hesitation and without thought to what happens when I take from that marketplace. So imagine that there was a higher power saying, don't take from that tree. There's something about it that's not right. And imagine if you went and took from that tree and ate that fruit. And what if that fruit took eons to regenerate, or if it was really intended for some other purpose? In those particular cases, you can almost imagine taking the fruits of medication that we're taking from our systems and prescribing them to people who aren't even tending to the main root cause of the troubles, such as cholesterol, and they're taking medication to offset that which the fruit was not meant to offset, which was a symptom to a true illness which is still occurring if you're taking, for an example, cholesterol medications to manage your cholesterol. The simple aspect is there are things like food that can absolutely change our wealth entirely. So again, on this Dean Valor, this Dean Mako Valor, it's called the Mako because it has sound ports that are cut like slashes. They're actually cut like the gills on the side of a Mako shark. The Dean Mako Valor is basically the last run of these guitars in this style, which is showcasing the same design that was prescribed by Dave Mustaine, but his name has been removed from it. And so the curse of changing the truss rod cover on this guitar was lifted for me, and I was able to successfully navigate the choices, which might have included some dark forces, and recognize the dark force, called it for what it was, said what I wanted to do, and then that led to a proper circumstance in my situation. So again, this is some high level, real deep thinking type concepts. These are deep thinking type concepts that we're putting out there for the ether to hear. I hope that you're hearing these things. I hope you're sharing. I hope you're caring at the very minimum. And I hope you understand that everything I'm doing is basically to nurture the land around me. So taking care of our health is absolutely critical, because at certain points we will not be able to physically take care of ourselves or mentally take care of ourselves when there are things around us like the devil. Devil, he gave me his hand, he told me he'd love me as long as he can. At first I avoided each time that he'd ask the simplest question with each tiny task. Have you decided where you want to go? He got quite impatient, said you gotta choose. It's only your spirit that you're gonna lose. My time ran out quickly, I couldn't believe. But what I had said, I didn't deceive. Have you decided where you wanna go? got angry and struck in my head. If I hadn't moved, I'd surely be dead. Have you decided where you want to go? I said, don't you touch me, protected by God. And that young sweet devil just gave me a nod. The devil moved on, she went on her way, and still I'm wary to this very day. Have you decided where you want to go? So once again, this is the Dean Mako Valor, which is basically the Dean Mako Glory, which is formerly the Dave Mustaine version of Dean's acoustic guitar series, which is this Mako. So I know that sounds kind of roundabout, but the fact is this guitar is only being produced under the name Valor now. This is the first, probably the first showcase that you're hearing about something like this, possibly because nobody really cares. And when I say that, I'm kind of joking. There's a huge industry that's based on all of this promotional stuff, who's promoting what. And Dave Mustaine went from Dean to Gibson. And so Dave's guitars are now Gibson based. At least that's what I believe they are. I could be wrong about that. I'm not really sure. What I am sure about is that I'm happy that you're watching this channel. I'm happy you're hearing the words to the songs. I'm happy that you're helping us to bring nurture to other people out there in nature. And I'm happy that you are watching this channel and helping it to grow, because this is really the only thing I know that helps me to combine so many efforts into one focused activity that really brings us together in a way to champion the world and to champion one another, actually. And in order to do that, we have to resonate at a higher frequency. We have to insist that our leaders recognize that there is a higher power. And in order to do that, sometimes we really need to take a break and just really do our own thing. So as I'm doing my own thing here, I know that you're doing your own thing there, and that somehow this is all going to work together. Somehow the wasps will be tended to. Somehow the mosquitoes will figure it out. Mostly, hopefully, the jets that are flying overhead, the bats and everything, will all have a home to defend and to keep in balance in a way that benefits all of us. So on this Earth Day weekend, I wanted to give you this final acoustic performance, because I finally got my final, for now, acoustic guitar that completes a set that I've been trying to complete for some time now. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing. And until next time, this is the Jeep Journals. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff.